Lisbon, Portugal. Michael, Jessica's right-hand man, runs through the streets, desperately poking at his phone as he's pursued by a shadowy figure. Two more menacing shadows begins chasing him, so he ducks through a crowded club, then hops on a moving tram. He loses his pursuers and tries to call the Incheon airport, but their lines are busy, so his warning that tonight's flight to Morocco will crash goes unheeded. He hangs up, and a message on his phone informs him that the call was monitored, so he tosses the phone away. Most of Hoon's taekwondo team are being fussed over at the airport by their parents, but Hoon pouts alone. He starts to call Daljeon but decides against it, still feeling upset about his old, grungy sneakers. A passenger surprises her husband with the news that she's 5 weeks pregnant. One of the taekwondo instructors gets fussed at by his sister for almost forgetting his passport, but their bickering doesn't hide an affectionate relationship. Hoon eventually calls Daljeon to leave a message that he's about to get on the plane. He tells Daljeon to check the cloud if he misses him, because he'll upload videos of his trip. A dispatcher at Incheon airport gets a call from Michael, who's found a payphone and says that they need to stop the flight to Morocco. He says there are terrorists on board who are planning to crash the plane, but before he can explain further, he's dragged away. An alarm sounds, and the airport's surveillance equipment goes haywire. The room is evacuated and the dispatcher who took the call tries to use her cell phone, and someone thumbs her in the neck before continuing on. The dispatcher makes her call, but she barely gets any information out before she collapses with convulsions. On the plane, Hoon takes a video of his rowdy team. He drops his phone when he bumps into a man wearing all black, and the man returns Hoon's phone and ruffles his hair, but Hoon seems to find him strange. In the cockpit, the co-pilot takes a call which he answers in Spanish, assuring the caller that the pilot can't understand him. Michael is taken to a car and forced to drink alcohol. Someone places a gun in his hand and points it at his head, then pulls the trigger. The killer slips out of the car and into the rainy night, wearing a black raincoat, while a short distance away, someone in another car watches. Tangier Airport, Morocco. On her way back from a trip to Portugal, Hairi runs into her co-worker, Hoshek, on the dock. He asks if she's heard about the Knees arresting their consul for receiving bribes from a drug gang and allowing drugs to be smuggled into Korea. Hairi's shocked response is a bit forced, but the ditzy act works on Hoshek. He asks why Hairi was in Portugal, mentioning the secretive calls she's made from the office, but luckily he just thinks she's got a boyfriend. Hairi rolls with it, going on a murderous rant about men who cheat. She makes her way to her apartment, then calls someone to tell them she's back from Lisbon. She mentions something about suicide with a pistol, and that an autopsy won't show anything different, as she pulls her own gun out to inspect it. She removes a black raincoat from her bag and drapes it over a chair. Oh! The pregnant passenger looks at a picture of her husband as she excitedly writes down potential baby names during the flight. Most of the passengers, including Taekwondo team, are asleep in their seats. Suddenly, the man in black gets up and makes his way to the front of the plane with his backpack. He enters the restroom immediately after the co-pilot exits it, and takes some sort of metal container from under the sink. He leaves the bathroom, then drops his entire backpack through a hatch in the floor.